What's up, guys? Welcome to my replay viewers. Thank you guys so much for jumping in, checking out my broadcast. Sorry I missed you live, but so glad you guys took some time to check it out. What is up to my live crew this morning? Great to see you all this morning, and so glad to have you here. I appreciate y'all coming in to hang out with me on this Thursday morning. Sherry, great morning to you. Thanks for coming in, my friend. Tracy and Adam. Katie, it's nice to see you, Katie. Thanks for coming in as well. Noah, Brian, Adam, Alexis, nice to see y'all as well. Y'all are amazing. I appreciate you. You know what? There's two broadcasts that I do, y'all, every single year, and I only do them once a year. This is one of them, and then the other is how to define your word for the year. Today, what we're going to talk about is I'm going to take you through a process called the 4-bucket breakdown. Good morning, Tasha. Good morning, Kat. This is a broadcast that I only do once a year, and it's something that I think is so powerful just to kind of stop for a second, take a look at what's really going on in your life, look at where we've been in this year, and more importantly, where you want to go in the new year. So I'm going to walk you through a process this morning called the 4-bucket breakdown, and I think it's such an important and powerful process for you to identify the roots, the symptoms in your life, and really get narrow focused on what you really want to see happen over the next 12 months, which leads me into the second broadcast that I only do once a year, which is how to pick your word for the year. Now, I'm going to be doing this one differently this year, just so you know. Normally, I do how to pick your word for the year as a live broadcast. We just do it live together. We hang out together. This year, I'm doing it differently. I'm actually doing it in a live Zoom conference call, and I'm doing this for my inner circle, but this is the first time ever that I've made this public to my public audience. So on Saturday morning, this Saturday morning, I'm going to be doing a live Zoom broadcast and walking you through the process for how to choose your word for the new year in 2020. And the reason why I'm doing this year is because I think this is such an important transition year, and I think it's so important that we have some really powerful dialogue on how to pick the right word for the year and how to make sure you are setting yourself up for an incredible 2021. So more to come on that, but if you are interested in being a part of that thing on Saturday, just drop yes please in the chat stream. And I'm bringing this up right off the bat because I don't want anybody to miss this opportunity to join in on this Zoom on Saturday morning. So all my inner circle, you guys know about this. You're already going to be there, but anybody who's not in my crew and has not heard about this yet, I want you to make sure you put yes please in the comments if you want to be a part of that, and I'll make sure I get all the info. I do have a little workbook that's going to go with that as well. It's going to be an awesome time. Be there. All right. So today we're talking about the 4-bucket breakdown. I'm going to walk you through 4 key areas of your life: personal, professional, financial, and spiritual. Get ready with pen and paper in hand. Get ready to take notes, and we are going to dive right in. All right. Hang tight. All right, y'all, Justin Kaplan Pro is my name. JustinKaplanPro.com is my website. I'm a startup business mentor and a branding strategist that specializes in helping startup entrepreneurs turn your passion, your gifting, your ideas into a profitable and scalable brand, leveraging the power of social media marketing. If you are new to me, if you are new to my channel, first of all, welcome. I would love to know that you are here. If you want to give me a hashtag first time in the chat stream and let me know if it's the first time you've ever seen me, I would love to say hello, and my crew would love to make you feel welcome. So let me know if it is the first time you've ever joined in with us. Jill, great morning to you. Danielle, good morning to you. I see your yeses. I see your yes pleases. Kim, good morning to you. Tasha, good morning. I appreciate all of you. Guys, follow me, subscribe to me, check me out. And if you got anybody in your crew that you think needs to join in on this broadcast, feel free to tag them in the chat stream, all right? So we're going to take some notes this morning, y'all. So hopefully you have pen and paper handy. And I'm going to walk you through a series of questions. And what we're going to do this morning is my mission is to help you really take a good hard look in your life and really identify what it is that needs to possibly change in your world. Jill, is it Jill? Jalil? I think I'm seeing in your comments it says Jalil, but is it Jill? I would love to know. And Jalil, good morning to you. And I'm so glad it's your first time on Facebook, and thank you for letting me know that. I appreciate that. So I'm going to walk you through 4 key areas, and really I want to set it up this way. I think when there's something going on in your life that you need to change, you can feel it, can't you? Like, can you feel like when there's something going on in your world that just feels off? And sometimes I think a lot of people really struggle with really shifting their lives and making meaningful change because they struggle to identify what exactly it is that does need to change. And a lot of problem that a lot of people have is they wrestle with dealing with symptomatic behavior rather than dealing with root issues. So what I'm going to, Jalil is how you pronounce it. I love that. Thank you, Tasha, for letting me know. Jalil, I'm so glad you're here and appreciate you. Nice to meet you as well. So really what I want to challenge you with this morning, guys, is I want to challenge you to quiet your mind. Shut off all the noise of your to-do list and all the things that you have to accomplish today. And I want you to really take time to think about these questions that I'm asking you and give yourself some real honest feedback just between you and yourself about what's going on in that particular area of your life, and does something need to change. I'm going to start this out with a quote that I love because I think it perfectly sets up what we're trying to accomplish today. So I'm going to share a quote with you by a man named Gary Keller. Gary says, "Work is a rubber ball. If you drop it, it will bounce back. The other four balls, family, health, friends, and integrity, are made of glass. If you drop one of these, it will be irrevocably scuffed, nicked, or perhaps even shattered." I'm going to say that again. Work is a rubber ball. If you drop it, it will bounce back. The other four balls, your family, your health, your friends, and your integrity, are made of glass. If you drop one of these, it will be irrevocably scuffed, nicked, or perhaps even shattered. Puts that into a perspective a little bit, doesn't it, right? So this morning I'm going to talk you through 4 different areas. This is my 4-bucket breakdown. And I'm going to talk through personal, professional, financial, and spiritual. And this is what I want you to do. As I go through each of these, I'm just going to list out several areas in each of these core buckets of your life. And I'm just going to ask you very simply, does something need to change in that area? Yes or no? That's very it. So I just want each one of these, I want you to write it down. We're going to start with personal, and I'm just going to take a few minutes on each one of these areas. And within personal, I'm going to ask you a series of things, series of different core areas, and I just want you to ask yourself, does something need to change in my life in that area? Yes or no? That's it. Just give it a yes or no answer, and then we're going to summarize this as we go through. All right, y'all ready? Give me a good morning, Justin, in the chat room if you're ready to go this morning. All right, and I'm going to take a drink of my coffee. Good morning, Alex. I see you, buddy. Good morning to you on YouTube. Appreciate you, man. All right. So, starting with personal. The first thing I want to ask you is, in your marriage or in your relationship. So, some of you guys may not be married. Some of you guys may be in a relationship. Some of you guys may be single. All right. So, let's just lump that all together. So, in your marriage or in your relationship, whether you're single or whether you're in a relationship, does something need to change? Yes or no? Now, you can put it in the chat room if you want to. You don't have to, but for your notes, just ask yourself, with my marriage, with my relationship status, does something need to change? Good morning, Autumn. Thanks for coming in. All right. Yes or no? Very simply, think about that. I think about that for myself. For me, honestly, nothing needs to change in my marriage. I love my marriage. I love my wife. Every marriage has stuff, but I love where I'm at with my wife. I don't feel personally that anything needs to change in my marriage. Some of you guys are like, definitely something needs to change in my marriage. And you know that, right? You can feel that. But what you may not know is the marriage the root issue? Or is there something else that's the root issue to cause symptoms in your marriage? And that's what we're going to get to this morning, all right? So in your marriage or in your relationship status, all right? How about your kids? If you don't have kids, maybe you want kids. If you are young and you're single and kids aren't even on your radar, then this one may not even apply to you. But for a lot of people in this room, kids may apply to you. So with your kids or with your grandkids, does something need to change? I'm going to say yes on that one for myself. There's some things that need to change with not all of my kids, but with some of my kids. And I'm aware of that. So just write down yes or no. Does something need to change, or do you feel like you're all good in that area? Let me go further. Your home. With your home, your house, where you live, your current living circumstances, does something need to change? Maybe you want to change something about your home, or maybe you need to change locations. Maybe you feel like you need to move. Maybe you feel like you need to get out. Maybe it's maybe there's a stress or a pressure going on with that home. But just ask yourself, with your home, does something need to change? Yes or no? With your passions, your interests, again, we're on the personal bucket. We're going to go through 4 buckets this morning, so we're talking all things personal right now. With your passions or your interests, or I'm going to say your hobbies, the things that you love, does something need to change or no? And a good way to look at this is maybe there's some things that you are passionate about. Maybe you have hobbies or maybe you have interests. And maybe there's something that you really have loved doing, but for some reason your life is so consumed that you haven't been able to spend time on that thing. You haven't done that thing in forever, or you haven't made time to be able to do some of the things that you love the most. Tammy, great morning to you. I know you love this broadcast. Good morning to you, buddy. All right. So with your passions, with your interests, with your hobbies, Does something need to change in your life? Yes or no? With your friendships, very simple. Does something need to change? We had a discussion about this a little bit yesterday. We talked about as you level up your mind, you are going to outgrow some people. I mean, anybody ever outgrown somebody? You're going to outgrow some people. Your network and your connections may be good for a season, but you may go through a period of time where you might need to level up who you're connected to, and you may possibly outgrow some people. Excuse me. So ask yourself this morning, with your friendships, does something need to change? All right, so we've covered marriage or relationships, your kids, your home, your passions, your interests, your hobbies, your friendships. Anything else that I'm missing on personal? We're not talking about finances. We're not talking about faith yet. We're not talking about your career. We're just talking about your personal life. And if there's anything else that you can think of that I have not yet mentioned, feel free to make a note of that and just write that down. But basically what you should have a list of is you should have a list of all the different things: marriage, kids, family, house, whatever that is. You can put extended family on there, parents. That's all relationship. I guess I didn't really cover relationships. Cover relationships because I covered friendships. With your relationships, your close family relationships, does something need to change? Yes or no? Just put a yes or put a no. You don't have to explain it. Just yes or no. Does something need to change? All right? That's personal. Take that. Set that aside. All right? We're past personal. Now we're going to go to professional. So with professional, same thing. Just ask yourself as I go through each of these words, does something need to change? Yes or no? The first of which is your career. Just your overall career direction. The focus that you are on right now, the path that you are on right now, does something need to change? Yes or no? Now, with your career, I want you to realize, if you're a goal-driven individual, if you're a career-minded person, you probably have hopes and dreams and aspirations of things that you want to accomplish. I think that's normal, but you may not be there yet. All right, you may not feel like you have gotten to where you want to get to yet. That's okay. That doesn't necessarily mean that something needs to change. You might be exactly on the right path, doing exactly the right things. You're a work in progress. That's fine. So don't feel like if you have not arrived yet that something needs to change. What I would identify for your career is, are you on the right path with your career? Are you on the right path with your hopes and dreams, with the goals that you have? Would you anyway just want to put that in the chat stream? I would give that an absolute yes. I am on the right path with my hopes and dreams. Do I have things that I want to accomplish? Absolutely. Do I have things that I want to scale and growth that I want to see happen and impact that I want to see expand? Are there all these things that I want to do? Right? Do I feel like I have arrived? Not a chance. But am I on the right path? Absolutely. So for me, does something need to change with my career? No way. Now, if you ask me, does something need to change in my career 6 years ago, I'd have been like, heck yeah. Absolutely. So just ask yourself, yes or no, with your career, does something need to change? The second piece of that is your position. So not everybody's an entrepreneur, and that's totally fine. But just ask yourself, with the position that you have, are you on the right path? Does something need to change? Does something need to change in your current position? So maybe you like where you're at in your career, but your position currently is not what it needs to be, and something needs to change there. Maybe you are an entrepreneur and you are building your business, but the position that you have in the market, the way people view you, is not working. Maybe people aren't viewing you as a hireable professional, or maybe you had one specialty before and you're trying to shift into a new lane. So maybe that needs to change. But just ask yourself, does something need to change? Yes or no? Your skills, your skill set. This is like your knowledge, your abilities. Does something need to change? And I've gone through seasons in my business where I felt like I was on the right career path, but there were certain things that I needed to learn, knowledge that I had to acquire that was going to be a necessity for me to be able to grow. And so something had to change. I had to learn those things. So does something need to change in your skill set? Does something need to change in your knowledge, your experience? Is there something that you have to learn? Or do you feel like, no, I'm good? Does something need to change with your skills? Does something need to change in your discipline? I'm just gonna Just going to leave that one right there for a second. Like, how disciplined have you been this year? Because this has been a year. This has been a year of testing. This has been a year of the refiner's fire. Somebody want to give me an amen? Pressure purifies. Fire purifies. I have been disciplined like a boss this year, and I've had a very good year. Very, very good year despite 2020. But man, I have discipline. I've had to keep my mind very, very, very laser focused on discipline. To discipline my mind, discipline my schedule, be disciplined with my intentions, be disciplined with my focus, because there's been a whole bunch of distractions, and there's been a whole bunch of noise, and there's been a whole bunch of disruptions, and there's been a whole bunch of unforeseen. So does something need to change in your discipline? Okay? Does something need to change in your time management? Because time management is not the same thing as discipline. It's different. So how are you managing your time? Ants World, what's up, brother? Thanks for coming in on YouTube, man. Does something need to change in your time management? How are you managing your time? And this is the way I look at it, y'all. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Time management is a misnomer. You can't manage time. Time keeps on ticking. It's an absolute. You can't affect it. You can't influence it. It's there. It goes. It's the most valuable thing in your world, and it's the one thing that you cannot control. Time management is life management. And until you can manage your life, you can manage nothing else. I said until you can manage your life, you can manage nothing else. Time management is life management. So how well have you been managing the time that you have allocated to yourself? Allison Key, thanks for coming in on Periscope. Appreciate you, all right? Does something need to change in your time management? Yes or no? Very simply. Jacqueline, good morning. Thanks for coming in, my friend. All right? Does something need to change in your time management? Does something need to change in your mindset? Yesterday, I had a lengthy discussion about limiting beliefs and how to overcome limiting beliefs. If you're struggling with your mindset, that would be a great broadcast for you to watch. I'd love for you to check it out. But does something need to change in your mindset? Your focus, the way you think, the way you believe, how your mind is affecting your actions. Does something need to change in your mindset? Yes or no? And those guys that are coming in late, basically what we're doing is I'm taking you through a process that I call the 4-bucket breakdown. We're talking about personal, professional, spiritual, and financial. And all I'm asking you is some very simple questions in some key areas of your life. Does something need to change? You don't have to explain it. You don't have to come up with a hypothesis for each one of these things. Just ask yourself, does something need to change in my life or not? Yes or no? So, with your mindset, does something need to change? The last thing on professional is your strategy. Does something need to change with your strategy? Your strategy would be the approach to your career, the approach to your business. So, if you are in a career and you have goals and hopes and aspirations, you should have a plan. You should have a strategy for how you want to grow, how you want to level up, how you want to get to that next position, or how you want to get that raise. Or if you're just going about the motions, then you're just going to stay where you're at. But do you have a plan or a desire to level up? Do you have a strategy? So does something need to change in your strategy? Yes or no? If you're an entrepreneur and you're working to grow a business and attract clients and earn a sustainable income as running your own business, does something need to change in your strategy? I can pretty much answer that one for you right now, because if you're an entrepreneur, everything needs to change. Right? I don't care how good you are or what you've been doing. 2020 has thrown some curve balls. And if you're doing the same thing now that you were doing at the beginning of the year, you are going to get lost in 2021, because everything needs to change. Your approach needs to change. Your style needs to change. Your marketing needs to change. Your branding needs to refresh. I mean, there's so much that needs to happen to capture people's attention moving forward. So just a simple question with strategy: does something need to change? Yes or no? All right. Thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate that. That's professional. So we've gone through personal, professional. Again, if there's anything along the lines of professional that you feel like you need to look at that. But we've covered career, your position, your skills, your discipline, time management, mindset, strategy. Does something need to change? Yes or no? How many of y'all have a variety of yes? Like, can you tell me how many yeses you have so far over the course of the several things that I've asked you under personal, professional? How many yeses do you have? Do you mind saying so in the chat stream? You don't have to tell us what they are. I'm just curious to know how many yeses you have. And what we're doing is we're going through the key areas of your life to identify what specific things need to change and what specific things don't need to change. Tasha's got 7, all right, and that's totally normal. Usually there's a lot that you'll find. Usually you have more yeses than you do nos. Jalil's got, I think I'm saying it right, Jalil. I think so. Jalil's got 11. I love it. All right, so what we're gonna do is, as we get through this, I'm gonna help you identify what are you wrestling with that's symptomatic behavior, and then what are you wrestling with that's actually root issues that you need to address. Root issues, all right? So I don't want to deal with symptomatic behavior. I want to get to the root, and I want to cut that root off. Let's go into financial. Let's talk about your income. Does something need to change with your income? Now, kind of same along the lines of career, all right? I think all of us would love to make more money, all right? That's kind of a given, right? I think all of us would love to make a ton of money. But does something need to change right now? You know, kind of like same with career path, or maybe you're not making the kind of money that you want to make, but you're on the right path, you're doing the right thing, and you know that you're doing everything you need to be doing to get yourself to that next level. All right? So in that case, you'd be like, no, nothing needs to change. But in some cases, you might be like, absolutely. If you're barely making ends meet and you're continually struggling and you're living paycheck to paycheck and there's way more month left at the end of your money, something needs to change with your finances. All right, so does something need to change? So I'm talking about your income, your actual income. Does something need to change with the amount of money you're bringing in? Because in some cases, some of you guys have a lot more month at the end of your money, not because of your income, but because of your spending. All right, so we'll go there in just a second. But income, in regards to your income, does something need to change? Yes or no? Savings. Does something need to change? Yes or no? Do you have a savings? Are you saving? It's one thing about 2020 is it exposed a lot of people to realize that they were not prepared for something as drastic as what 2020 had to throw at them. All right? So does something need to change with your savings? Savings is a necessity. In my opinion, savings is a non-negotiable. And I've had people that have told me, oh, Justin, I can't afford to save. I've spent every bit of my money gets allocated. I guarantee you, if I went through 3 months of your bank statements, I could find a whole bunch of areas that you could save some money and put it away. Even if it's $5 a week. There, you got a coffee in there somewhere, or you got, some of y'all, you're like, I can't afford to save, but you spent $80 on Halloween candy for all the people that are coming to your house. Like, it's about priorities. It is. I don't believe there's a person on the planet that can't save money. I just don't believe that. I just don't think it's possible. It's just wherever you put your focus is what you happen. I shared with you guys yesterday one of my favorite quotes by Zig Ziglar that says, if you really want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. You can find a way to save money. I think a lot of people, coffee, right, whatever it is, a lot of people think that saving means that they need to save like 10% or 20% of their income. And I get if you're in a tight spot that's not possible, but you can save something. You can save something. So maybe savings, maybe you start out small and you build up from there. All right, but savings may be a thing. How about giving? Tithing. Does something need to change? Or are you good in that regard? Budgeting. Do you have a budget? Does something need to change in regards to how you budget your finances? Do you have a budget? Do you need to revisit your budget? Are you keeping track of where all that money goes, or does it just come in and go out and you just hope you get to the end of the month? Is budgeting something that needs to change? Yes or no? How about investments? And again, I got the people that are going to be like, well, Justin, I can't afford to invest. Okay. But do you want to? Because that's the thing. If you want to invest, because I went through years of not investing and just basically, working so hard to earn as much money as possible. But I realized that real wealth is when you start making your money work for you instead of constantly trying to earn. Because if you're constantly trying to earn, you're always going to be stuck in a position where you're having to trade time for money. But real wealth comes when you start making your money work for you. So maybe you're in a position where finances are tight and you feel like you can't afford to invest. That's okay. But you know what? You can start out really small. Same with saving. You can start out really small Can't afford not to in some of these, Tasha. Absolutely. You can't afford not to. So does something need to change with your investments? So maybe some of you guys, lazy money has lost wealth. Wow, Tammy, dropping it hot this morning. Y'all are on it this morning. I love it. I don't have to say nothing. I like it when you pick up the hot stuff because then I get in less trouble. Take a drink of my coffee. So maybe you want to invest. All right, maybe, you know, does something need to change? Let me just ask you that in that regard. You know, so maybe you don't have any investments whatsoever. That's okay. And you might say to yourself, you know, I really would like to invest. Maybe your first step is not even to go invest in something. Maybe just talk to somebody. Maybe go buy a book on getting started, Beginner's Guide to Investing. Maybe go watch some YouTube videos and start educating yourself on what type of investment is the right type of investment for a beginner who's never invested before. That's a start. But what we're trying to identify is, does something need to change? Because if you continue with the mindset that you currently have, that you can't afford to invest, guess what? 5 years from now, you still won't have invested anything. 10 years from now, and then 20 years from now, and then all of a sudden you're 60 and you have no network, you have no backup, you have no support system. You'll be working till you're 90, right? So if something doesn't change, I mean, I don't even know whose quote it is, but I always loved it. It says, if nothing changes, nothing changes. If you continue doing what you're doing now, you'll continue having what you've always had. So does something need to change? Yes or no? Does something need to change with your retirement? I'll just throw a couple other things in here. Life insurance. Your legacy too, right? Like your living will and preparing for your future, just that type of stuff. You can lump that all in. I guess we could just lump it all in as retirement. Maybe retirement is one thing, like your 401k or however you're preparing yourself for the future, but then maybe you separate another bucket and just to life planning. Does something need to change with life planning? I'm gonna put a yes on that one for myself, because there's some things that I need to do and it's been heavy on my heart for a while and I just haven't done it. Does something need to change? Yes or no? Okay, that's financial. Y'all go with me? Y'all tracking with me this morning? Appreciate y'all hanging out with me live. Hopefully you got your favorite morning beverage. And again, just a quick reminder, y'all, there's 2 broadcasts specifically that I only do once a year. This one, and I only do this once a year because I think it's a good annual, it's just a good annual thing to do once a year, just to reset your focus going into the new year. So this I only do once a year. And the second one is how to choose your word for the year. And the how to choose your word for the year is such a powerful process. Has anybody ever chosen your word for the year? I'm curious. Put a yes or no in the chat stream. Have you ever chosen your word for the year before, where you've identified a specific word that you want to be your focus for the year? I do that training once a year, and this year I'm doing it differently. Normally I do it in a live broadcast. This year I'm going to be doing it in a Zoom call on Saturday morning. This Saturday morning, in 2 days, it's going to be at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So basically 48 hours from now, we are going to do a Zoom call, and it's free. Normally I only do this for my inner circle. This month, this year, I'm opening it up to anybody who wants to join, because I think it's so necessary and so powerful. So if you want to go through this process with me and my crew on Saturday morning, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so powerful. I have a little guide that I'm going to give you. I have 108 word ideas, and I'm going to walk you through the very specific steps, kind of like I'm doing this morning, where I'm going to help you identify the specific areas in your life, and at the end of it, we'll come down with one key word that you are excited about for the new year, and you know exactly why you've chosen it. And the reason why I say that last piece about exactly why you've chosen it, because a lot of people just happenstantially pick a word. Like, I want my word for the year to be renew, because I want 2020 to be a renewed year from 2021. And it's like, it needs to have meaning. It needs to have something behind it, because when you tie the emotion to it, it changes everything for you. Now, I've been doing a word for the year for the last 3 years, and every single year my word has been influential in my life. Absolutely. So if you want to join in on that with me, all you guys that are watching me live, all my inner circle, you know where to find me, you know where to be. If you're not in my crew and you want to join in that Zoom, just put yes please in the chat stream for me. I see you on all the platforms. whether on Periscope or YouTube or whatever, just put yes, please. I'll connect to you. I'll make sure you get the details, and I'll make sure you get the little guide that's going to go with that. And you can join us on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central, 6 a.m. Pacific, and then we'll be live on Zoom, okay? So, last bucket we're going to go into is spiritual. We've gone through personal, professional, and financial. Spiritual. Tasha, I got you, buddy. Thank you. Spiritual. Let me just, Amber, I got you as well. Thank you so much. Let me just ask you this way. With spiritual, I'm going to start out with forgiveness. Does something need to change in your world in regards to forgiveness? I'm going to say no on that one, but I'm going to say this is the first year in probably, this is probably the first year in a number of years that I could say no to that. That I'm like, I think I'm good. That's a hard one. Do you have someone? I got you, Jalil, and I see you, Buffy. Good morning, Autumn. I see you as well. Does someone need to be forgiven? Do you need to forgive someone in your life, or do you need to forgive yourself? And this is just a very real, honest, that's just a thick question, but just ask yourself, does something need to change in my world in regards to forgiveness? Okay? Forgiveness. The other one is release. Release. Are you released? There's strongholds and barriers and past rejection, emotional wounds, physical wounds. In regards to being released, does something need to change? Do you feel like you are released from the things that have been a stronghold in your life for years, or do you feel like I'm good? I'm going to say I'm good in that regards. I don't feel like there's anything I need to be released from, or to release from anybody else. But just ask yourself that question: is there something that I need to release? The other one I just want to ask is spiritual confidence. Do you have a spiritual confidence, and does something need to change in that regards? Do you feel confident in your faith and confident in your spiritual walk with the Lord, or is that something that needs to change? I think we're always growing. You know, I've gone through seasons where I felt like I was right where the Lord wanted me, and I felt like, but then at other times in my life, I feel like I'm just disjointed, and I need to learn, and I need to be better, whatever. So just ask yourself, spiritual confidence. I'm gonna throw learning and growing in there. Are you learning and growing? Do you feel like you're in a place where you're continually learning and growing, or do you feel like you're stagnant? If you're stagnant, if I ask you, does something need to change in regards to how you are learning and growing in your faith? If you say, no, I feel like I'm good, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm right where I need to be, and I feel like the Lord is really working on me. Or you might feel like, no, I feel stuck, I feel stagnant, I feel like I need to be refreshed, then something needs to change in that world. And then the last one I'm going to give you on spiritual is the commitment of your time. Does something need to change in the commitment of your time to the Lord? I'm going to just share something with you real quick. I went through this when I was going through this 3 years ago, and I was actually preparing for this broadcast 3 years ago. I got to that last one, and I'm like, does something need to change in how much time I'm spending with the Lord? I'm like, no, I'm good. I do my quiet time every single morning. I put a no on that, and when I wrote no on the paper, it felt like fire in my hands. And I'm like, it's like the Lord just socked me. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I spend consistent time. And I couldn't identify it at the moment. I didn't know what the issue was, because I felt like I was doing right by the Lord by just starting my day every morning with my quiet time. And so later that day, I called up my accountability partner, a great friend. He used to be a client, and is just a great friend of mine. And we were talking about it. I said I was preparing this thing, and I got to the point about, do I feel like I'm spending consistent time with the Lord? And I am. But I felt really impressed upon the Lord that I'm not doing right by the Lord there. He's like, well, tell me what that looks like. And so I told him my morning schedule. I'm like, I get up, it's the first thing I do. I spend easily 20 to 30 minutes doing my quiet time, and it's the first thing I do every single day. He's like, let me ask you a question. I said, okay. He's like, how many hours do you spend in your business every day? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I said, I work, you know how I work my business. I was proud of it, right? I'm like, I'm sun up to sundown, really, you know, probably 14, 16 hours a day. Easily, I'm working on my business. Even if I'm not working, my mind is always working. I'm like, so I work my business, probably a good 16 hours a day. He's like, the Lord talks about giving us the first and the best of everything that we have to him, that first 10%. He's like, do you know what 10% of 16 hours is? And off the top of my head, I couldn't think of the number. He's like, it's not 20 minutes. It's not 30 minutes. He's like, do the math. He's like, 10% of 16 hours is 90 minutes. He's like, when's the last time you had a 90-minute quiet time with the Lord? I'm like, 90 minutes? That's a long time. But I'm like, it's not that long a time. And it was all about that. It's all about the perception, isn't it? Come on, are y'all awake out there or what with me this morning? I'm like, how selfish are we? You know what I'm saying? Come on, somebody. How much time do you spend in prayer asking the Lord for stuff? How much time do you spend waiting and wanting him to come fix your stuff and show up with that blessing and heal your loved one? How much time do we spend asking? But then it's like, you know, I've had conversations with my kids before that one of the things that drives me the most crazy is when the only time I get a conversation or a text message or a phone call is when they ask for something. You know, I got teenagers getting, you know, busy. They're always gone. They're running around, all these different things, and you know, the loving adolescence kind of begins to go away, and then they just start moving into all the wants and all the needs. And I need this and that. I need that. I need you to send me a check. I need you to give me more cash and amount of money. And it's like, you know, I get real sick of the only time I hear from you is when you need something, and it's just like a, whoa. I wonder if that's how the Lord feels sometimes, where the only time you talk to him is when you're asking for something. So that was a challenge that my accountability partner gave me 3 years ago, and I restructured my morning schedule because of that. And I get up an hour earlier, completed my morning, and now I have a 90-minute quiet time with the Lord every morning, and it changed my world. And sometimes it's not a matter of sitting and reading the scripture or sitting and reading a devotional. Sometimes my quiet time with the Lord is I'll just go sit on my front porch and talk to him. Sometimes I'll just talk to him. This is what I'm thankful for. This is what I'm excited about. This is what I'm insecure about. This is what I'm just need some insight and some wisdom on. Sometimes just have conversation. But I just wonder with that time, y'all. This isn't meant to be a preach broadcast, but I think that's so important for us, isn't it? I think it's so important for us. So doesn't mean that y'all need to go out and having a 90-minute quiet time, but I just challenge you to listen to the Lord and see what the Lord impresses upon you with that one, okay? So we've gone through those 4 buckets. You probably have a whole bunch of yeses, all right? So hopefully you got a piece of paper with each of these things that we listed down with yeses or nos listed next to each one of them. Now what I want you to do is that I want you to go back through that list, and we'll start at the very top, and I want you to look at that particular thing and think about it for a second. Anything that you put a yes next to, just look at all the yeses. And when I did this, you know, and went through this list for myself, I went through with a Sharpie marker and crossed out anything that was no. So it was just off my list. Some of you guys may want to take your yeses and put it on a new list so you can look at it clean. However you want to do, that's fine. But basically what we need to do is we need to look at all those yeses. And I want you to start at the top through each one of them, and I want you to look at it, and I want you to think about it. I want you to ask yourself, is that a symptom or is that a root problem? And just right next to it, symptom or root next to it. So if you put a yes next to your marriage, yes, something needs to change in my marriage. Is your marriage the root issue? Or is that a symptom of your financial challenges or of your spiritual challenges. Maybe something needs to change because you love the Lord with all your heart and your husband or your spouse is disjointed from the church. And so there's a constant struggle there. The Bible says a house divided cannot stand. Maybe there's an issue there. So something needs to change in your marriage, but the marriage isn't the issue. It's the spiritual breakdown. Maybe there's been an emotional wound or a forgiveness that's been unreleased. That may be the root. Your marriage is the symptom. Do you see that? Let's go to your kids. If we talk about your kids, if you said something needs to change with my kids, what is that, a symptom or is that a root issue? And again, don't try to necessarily sit and explain it. All right, so as you go through these, don't try to explain why it's a symptom or a root. Just ask yourself and ask the Lord to show you. Ask him to bring the hidden things to light. And look at that area. Just whatever you put a yes next to, ask yourself, is that a symptom or is that a root? If something needs to change in your home, is my home the root issue? Or is there a symptom that's causing me to have issues in my home? Your friendships, your desires, your family, professional. Can you see that? When I do this for myself, it's so clear. Put yes in the chat room if you can see the symptoms and the roots. This is bringing the hidden things to light, y'all. This is where breakthrough happens. This is the... What did I put in the title of this broadcast? I said, if you are ready for 2021 to be your year of change, this is the broadcast for you. The reason why we're doing this is because if you go into the new year carrying the same root issues that you've been carrying, the new year isn't going to be any better for you. Seeing the difference. It is. Oh, it is. It's so it's hard for you. Tasha can see it. Tammy said it's hard. This might take some time. So I'm gonna give you a last couple of questions, and then I'm gonna the main thing that I want to help you through this morning is going down through the 4 buckets and putting yes or no, so you can be super honest with yourself about what areas need to change. So this is what you need to do. And you can do this on your own time. I'm gonna get us out of here. All right. But you want to go through each of those and think long and hard, and you might need to spend some time in prayer and ask the Lord to give you clarity. But everything that you put a yes next to, you need to identify which of those are symptoms and then which of those are root issues. All right. Once you identify your root issues, you want to separate those out, and you should have hopefully a short list. Doesn't mean that it might be just 1 or 2. It might be 4 or 5, might be more. But you want to identify what those root issues are. Then ask yourself, what exactly needs to change with those? So once you've identified what those roots are, ask yourself, what exactly needs to change there? And try to explain it to yourself as if you were explaining it to me. Imagine you're having a call with me and I'm like, all right, these are your root issues. What needs to change? What has to happen there? Doesn't mean, even if you feel like it can't happen, like, man, this is so hard. I don't even know how this could ever possibly transpire. But you know something needs to change there. Try to explain it and identify what exactly needs to change. All right? And once you identify what needs to change, then the last thing that I want you to do with each of those root issues is I want you to ask yourself, where do you start? What's the first step? Maddie, good morning to you. What's the first step that you can take? And a lot of people will get super objective here. A lot of people will struggle with this one. But this is what I would encourage you with. If you were talking to your best friend in the world, or the person that is closest to you in the world, and they had that problem, and they had that area of their life that needed to change, and they asked you, where do I start? What would you tell them? If you weren't the one in the middle of it, and you were advising the person that you love most in this world and that's closest to you, what would you tell them? And I want you to identify the starting point, the first step. And then this is what I want you to do. Y'all ready for this one? I'm not sure you're ready for this one. If you're ready to hear what I have next, put yes in the chat stream, because this is a matter of acceptance and willingness. This is a matter of deciding in your mind that you're not going to let this go any longer. This is not going to be easy, but it is going to be powerful, and it will absolutely change your world. If you're ready to hear what the last thing I'm going to tell you is, put yes in the chat stream for me, please. I got a couple yeses. Kim's ready. Tammy's ready. Tasha's ready. Maddie's ready. Jalil's ready. Okay. The next thing I want you to do, with each of these things, you're gonna have a number of them, all right? And you're gonna have your next step. Once you define what your next step is, I want you to pick the one on there that's most important to you. The biggest one. Tasha found 3 roots, all right? So Tasha's got 3 root issues. And Tasha needs to find your next step for all 3 of those issues. I want you to pick the one that is most important to you. That means the most to you. That absolutely has to change. And I want you to take that first step within the next 48 hours. 48 hours. There is a psychological study done with human behavior that if someone commits to doing something but they do not take a step towards it within 48 hours, the likelihood of them doing it drops to less than 5% if they don't take a step within 48 hours. Less than 5%. There's an amazing quote by Tony Robbins that says a real decision is measured by the fact that you've taken a new action. If there's no new action, you haven't truly decided. I'm going to say that again. A real decision is measured by the fact that you've taken a new action. If there's no new action, you haven't truly decided. 48 hours. 2 days. That's not Justin's idea. That's psychological fact. Because what's happened right now is your emotions are stirred up. You can see clearly. You understand the why behind it. You know why it's important. And you know that you need to do something about it. But if you go more than 48 hours without doing something about it, the likelihood of you doing it past 48 hours drops to less than 5%. So I challenge you. How many of y'all will do that? I'm just very curious. And the reason why, I mean, we got a whole bunch of people in here that, I mean, I love y'all. I appreciate all of y'all. I ask you to put yes in the chat stream because I want you to hold yourself accountable. I said I was going to do that. I'm going to do that thing. How many I mean, some of y'all may have some big stuff. Can you take a first, doesn't mean it has to be a major one, but it does need to be that first step. Because if you take that first step within 48 hours, the likelihood of you continuing to follow through and progress towards eliminating that root is very likely. But if you don't take that first step in 48 hours, the likelihood of you doing it's less than 5%. First step, Tasha. Tasha is not sure how, and it might be a challenging situation, but that's just ask yourself with whatever it is, Tasha and everybody, if it's a tough thing, just ask yourself, what's one thing that I can do in the next 48 hours to progress towards that, to take a step towards that thing? Even if it's research. Like, I've had people that be like, I need to have a conversation with someone in my life, but I can't have that conversation within 48 hours. All right? Well, then in the next 48 hours, what you can do is you can plan a time. You can plan a time for when you are going to have that. So maybe you're like, you know what? I can't have the conversation now, but I know I'm going to see that person on Thanksgiving. But I want to have the conversation before Thanksgiving. So I need to invite them to breakfast, or I need to pick up the phone and call them. So maybe I'm going to call them on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. So you make a decision, you put it on your calendar, and then you tell somebody, you tell your spouse, I'm going to call so-and-so on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, and we're going to talk about the thing. That's a first step. Doesn't mean you have to actually call the person within 48 hours, but you make a plan. I love that. Jalil wants to find more places to speak at since I'm an inspirational speaker. So Jalil, you can do some online research. You can get into some forums. You can get into a variety of areas that you can look for upcoming speaking engagements in 2020 that you can send out invitations to. Or you might say, you know what, I want to, if Jalil wants to take that step, you could say, I want to find some more places to speak, but what I really need to do right now is I need to put together a speaker sheet. I need to put together my key signature talk, or I need to outline, 3 topics that I can speak on. So if I get invited to an event or somebody accepts my application, then I can talk to them about what I could actually speak on. So you might do some of your branding and do some of your preparation so that you can actually present yourself as a professional speaker. That would be a first step that you could begin working on in the next 48 hours. So 48 hours, powerful window. Take that step, y'all. That's what I got for you today. So some of you guys may need to go through this again and look at all your yeses, identify your roots, identify your symptoms, narrow it down, identify what is your first step that you need to take with each of those roots, and then plan to take a step within 48 hours, all right? That's your challenge. That's what I got for you today. Again, if you want to join me on my Saturday morning Zoom call, I promise you it's going to be so powerful. And the reason why I do this one in advance of that is because I want you to sort through all the noise, and hopefully this process should really help you identify what you want your 2021 to be about, what you really want to see happen, what you really want to experience in the new year. It shouldn't be happenstance. It shouldn't be just fly off the cuff. Yeah, I want it to be a year of growth, or I want it to be a year of impact. I want it to be a year of whatever. Choose what you really want to see happen this year. And as I take you through, when we do the Zoom call on Saturday, I'm going to walk you step by step by step through how to identify the key areas in your life, how to outline a series of different words, and how to pick the right word for your year. So when you come out of my Zoom on Saturday, you're going to know exactly what your word is, what your year's going to be, and you're going to be able to declare that going into the new year, and it's going to be powerful, super awesome. So if you want to be a part of that, put yes please in the chat. Yes please in the chat stream. My inner circle, you guys know what I'm all about, and you know what I got going on there. So if you're not in my inner circle, let me know, and if you want to be a part of that Zoom, I'll connect you, I'll get you the details, and I'll look forward to seeing you on Saturday morning, all right? Y'all are amazing, and I appreciate you. I know 53 minutes of your time is so valuable, so I appreciate your time this morning, guys. Share it out to anybody you think needs it. Tag them in the comments on Facebook if you think anybody wants to come in and check this out. You guys have a beautiful day. Be intentional with your time today. Be intentional with your talent, and I will see you guys all around the web, right? Take care, God bless, and I'll see y'all later.